I found the real daughter of a rich family abandoned inside a trash can. I decided to raise her. But the system gave me a strict order. I had to scold her every single day as she grew up. I needed to make her life difficult and force her to develop a ruthless personality. I coldly agreed to the terms. What is so hard about that? Honestly, I completely despise kids anyway. 16 years later, her biological wealthy family and I crossed paths right at the school gate. I was wearing ripped old jeans, holding 2 fried sausages in my hands. Her real parents stood there, alongside the fake rich daughter who just stepped out of a luxury car. They brought 16 gifts in total, one for every year from age 1 to 16. The wealthy man stared at me, looking me up and down from head to toe. "You must have worked quite hard all these years," he said. The fake heiress stood right beside him, looking fearfully at my adopted daughter. "Sister, please do not kick me out of here," she cried. The real heiress just gave them a very weird look and ran straight toward me. She snatched the sausages from my hands. "Dad, are you eating this junk again?" she scolded. Back when I first found her by that dirty dumpster, she was barely 1 month old. She looked incredibly weak and fragile. Her tiny cries were as faint as a dying little kitten. But the very second I picked her up in my arms, she completely stopped crying. Her big round eyes just stared right up at me, and suddenly, her little face lit up with a bright smile. I frowned hard and hissed angrily. "Do not even think you can trap me. I am only raising you for the money." The system sounded a bit surprised. "Then why on earth are you buying stuff for her?" I quickly snatched my hand back in defense. Damn it. I was just about to fall right into her tiny little trap. I quickly gathered myself and maintained my strict rule of being a cruel father. I deliberately bought the cheapest milk powder in the entire store for her. But it seemed like she really did not like it. Her tiny nose wrinkled up in disgust, and her eyes filled with deep disappointment. She was so fussy. "Drink it or leave it," I snapped. But that tiny little baby she reached out, wrapped her tiny hand around my index finger, and gave it a shake. First thing the next morning, I picked up another part-time gig. I went and bought the expensive, easy-to-digest baby formula. That makes sense, right? If she doesn't drink the good stuff, how is she supposed to grow? And if she doesn't grow, how will I sell her for a profit? That night, she was way too quiet. I just tossed and turned. I checked her breathing every single minute. I even started searching online to see if it was normal for a newborn infant to hardly ever cry. By the 6th time I leaned over to check on her, she woke up. "What are you doing?" she asked. I told her I was just making sure she had not died on me. Soon, that tiny baby turned into a lazy, 3-year-old toddler. Finally, my chance to show some real cruelty had arrived. Starting today, I would squeeze those chubby little cheeks like an absolute villain. I told her, "You have to tie your own shoelaces now." Maybe it was just good genetics, but this kid was incredibly smart. She actually figured it out so fast. Tying her own shoes, falling asleep by herself, eating alone, and even washing her own tiny socks. What kind of brutal torture is this, right? You would not understand. My evil master plan was only just getting started. Next, I plan to teach her how to mop floors, cook meals, and do all the heavy, dirty chores. I will turn her into my personal servant. Sounds perfect. But what I absolutely never expected to happen was that she was way too obedient. She literally did everything I asked without complaining. But, as the strictest father in the world, I refused to let her get away with making even a single mistake in the house. So, when she accidentally knocked over the mop bucket, I crossed my arms and yelled at her loudly. I said, "You are so foolish. How do you think your real parents are going to look at you? They will hate you." Her big eyes filled up with tears, and she ran straight to her bedroom crying. I rushed right after her and pressed my ear against the door to listen. The crying inside slowly started fading away. My heart felt like it was on fire. What do I do now? Did she pass out in there? Was all this drama really necessary? Yeah, you are probably right about that. I will wait 5 more minutes, 4 minutes, just 4 minutes. Actually, 1 minute is enough. Forget it, man. I went straight inside. Looking around, I saw my little girl on the table. She was lying there, drawing quietly. I pulled her into a warm hug and quickly explained myself. I told her I was just kidding earlier. "You are so incredibly sweet. Your real parents could never hate you." "Papa, there are 2 people in the painting, one big and one small. I don't need anyone else, I just want you." I went completely silent. "Papa, please don't cry." I am not crying. Only later did I finally realize that this strict parenting method did not work on her at all. Honestly, it just made me cry every single time. So, I switched up my strategy. I bought a heavy study book and forced her to sit and learn. The system mocked me, asking what this new drama was. "You would not understand. I will crush our spirit with homework." Day 1, I taught her the word you. Day 2, love and hate. Then like and dislike. But by the 3rd day she was chasing me around like a tiny chick, happily yelling, "I love you, Papa. I love you." My face turned completely red with embarrassment. I finally shouted and threw the book away. Damn it, this is not working either. Before enrolling her in primary school, I needed to get her birth certificate sorted out. That is when I suddenly realized I had never even given her a proper name. I just called her little girl. The system warned me, this is a crucial moment. Pick a name she will never forget, one that brings her a lifelong pain and suffering. Let us give her a cheap servant name. This terrible name will absolutely crush her spirit. I stayed up thinking all night. The next morning, I confidently registered her official documents. I told the system, I took your advice perfectly. I chose a name she will absolutely hate. Wow, the system cheered. You finally figured it out. I turned to her. From now on your name is Lu Chi-woo. Ah, I laughed with pure pride. The little girl hates rainy days, so I literally named her Kiwoo, meaning rain. Let us see if she goes completely crazy with anger. But she just smiled. Papa, thank you for giving me your family name. Wait, something feels very wrong here. Once primary school started, I strictly ordered her to study hard. Lu Chi-woo just fell innocently silent. She stopped running around constantly shouting, Papa, I love you anymore. She would come home, quietly do her chores, finish her homework, and neatly make my bed before going to sleep. I whispered, see? Our adopted daughter is growing distant. This clearly means my cruel father plan is working perfectly. But I still could not stop myself from secretly peeking into her room at night. The next afternoon, she came back from school holding 2 tasty sausages. I asked, where did you get the money to buy those? She tilted her head. Didn't you sneak the cash into my bag, Papa? Ah, I said, I must have dropped it there by mistake. So, Papa, did you drop it by mistake the day before yesterday? And last week and last month too? I quickly changed the subject. Besides, this is pure junk food. Who even gave you permission to eat this? Staring into her big, hopeful eyes, I somehow scarfed down both sausages in 2 huge bites. 2 hours later, after returning home, I marched into her bedroom holding a plate of sausages I had freshly fried myself. Look, I told her, this is what you call healthy food, Lu Chi-woo. She did not say a single word, but her little eyes totally lit up. She wiped the plate completely clean. System asked, why on earth are you doing this? You wouldn't understand. I am just testing it out to make sure it is not poison. Feeling deeply satisfied, I turned and walked out. Lu Chi-woo was incredibly smart. Almost every single time, she scored perfect marks on her tests. Finally, during her 3rd grade final exams, she dropped slightly and scored a 98 in English. I yelled, such carelessness, how did you lose 2 marks? Sorry, Papa, I will be careful next time. Lu Chi-woo bowed her head and quietly walked to her room. The system praised, Papa, this strict attitude is excellent. Before the system finished speaking, I stared at her tiny back and started crying secretly. Oh God, what have I done to my sweet daughter? The system sighed. You did not even do anything. A few minutes later, Lu Chi-woo went to the kitchen to cook. Seeing me in the corner sitting and crying, I immediately stood up and quickly wiped my wet face. Papa, are you crying again? No, I am not crying. The smoke from the cooking is just burning my eyes. She smiled softly and said, Papa, next time I promise I will get perfect. I'll get the grades. What do you even know? I know you love me a lot. My entire body froze. I gently reached out and grabbed his shoulder. Didn't you want to scold him? Shut your mouth. Playing the weakling to catch the predator is just fake ignorance. Once she actually trusts me, I will absolutely break her heart. But honestly, after waiting so long, that chance never came. Instead, I watched Lu Ji-woo walking home in tears. I hadn't seen her cry in absolutely ages. As soon as she walked inside, she collapsed. Little Woo, what is wrong? Did someone bully you? I paced the room completely panicked. After begging her to speak, she choked back a sob and whispered, They said that I am not your biological daughter. Oh, is that all? I let out a massive sigh of relief. Yeah, I found you by a dumpster. Lu Ji-woo stared stunned. Really? Yep, I answered completely casually. I always teased that she was a dumpster baby, but she never knew it was true. Her eyes welled up again. So what? I asked. Lu Ji-woo's brain completely stopped working. She totally forgot to cry. Haven't I been good to you? Haven't I raised you all these years? Yeah, so if you are not blood, does that change absolutely anything about right now? Lu Ji-woo thought about it for a long, quiet moment. No, then everything is fine, right? This huge identity crisis could have totally shattered a real wealthy heiress. Whatever, I have my own parenting style. The next day, Lu Ji-woo marched into school. Those arrogant bullies immediately mocked her for being a dumpster baby. So what? Why are your clothes so filthy? Do your parents even wash them? They definitely don't love you. She snapped back, and you fail every single exam, yet your parents couldn't care less. They clearly have zero hope for your future. And Song Yawu, you inhale junk food every day and your parents say nothing. They obviously don't care if you live or die. The 3 bullies turned bright red. Well, you are still just a dumpster baby. So what? My dad loves me more than anything. Why should I care what you think? Little Woo's days passed, just like that, and her grades were absolutely flawless. She got accepted into the city's top middle school. By high school, I happily moved us into a small apartment right next to her campus. Lu Ji-woo knew the rent was brutally high, so she offered to take a part-time tutoring job. I panicked immediately. No, absolutely not. Why, Dad? Working will ruin your grades. If you miss out on a good college, how will you earn enough money to take care of me later? Good point. I finally exhaled. I was terrified she might actually drop out to work and support me. Dad can afford you for a few more years. Don't worry, I call this a long-term investment. Thanks, Dad. I pulled out a brand new backpack and handed it over. Found this on the street. Dad, my old bag is still perfectly fine. I said use it, so just use it. Stop arguing. Lu Zhiwu smiled, grabbed the backpack and, before leaving, poked her head back in. Dad, I want fried sausages tonight. All right. That evening, I stood early by the school gates holding warm sausages and waiting. Suddenly, a sleek luxury car, screaming old money from a mile away, pulled up right in front. Under the jealous, staring eyes of the other parents, 4 people stepped out. Leading them was a stunning, wealthy couple dripping in expensive jewelry. Behind them walked a brother and sister. The little sister nervously clung to her brother's sleeve, looking totally terrified. The boy, meanwhile, glared around with absolute disgust, acting like breathing the same air as us peasants made him physically sick. Suddenly, the system, silent for years, spoke up. The Hua family is here for their biological daughter. I totally froze. The system had promised that once I raised little Wu to 16, her real parents would arrive. But I never expected this day to come so fast. I wanted to step forward, but I looked down at myself. Cheap plastic sandals, a faded $2 shirt, mess of VC hair, clutching greasy fried sausages in my hands. I looked nothing like Lu Zhiwu's glamorous biological family. I bit my lip hard and just stayed hidden. 5 minutes later, the final bell rang. Lu Zhiwu marched out ahead of the crowd, rocking a high ponytail, looking confident and strong. She clearly had some great news to share with me. Her bright eyes scanned the crowd, knowing I would be waiting at the gates. But I shrank back into the shadows. Before she could spot my face, the Hua family intercepted her. They had obviously done their background checks. Mrs. Hua rushed forward, eyes welling with dramatic tears. "And Anne, is it really you? Sorry, I think you have got the wrong person." Mr. Hua stepped up next. "I am Hua Jianming, CEO of the Hua Group. Your true name is Hua Anan. We are your real parents taking you home." The busy street crowd immediately circled them. Lu Zhiwu took a deep breath and backed away. "What is this, a hidden camera prank? I need to go home and cook for my dad." "Can you just kidnap someone else?" Mrs. Hua gasped sharply, acting like she had just heard a horror story. "You have to cook? Oh, my sweet daughter, you have suffered so much poverty all these years." Lu Zhiwu was polite at first, but, hearing that insult, her face instantly darkened. Before she could snap back, the fake, princess-like adopted daughter dramatically pushed her way to the front. Sobbing loudly, she bowed deeply to Lu Zhiwu. "I am so sorry I stole your life, but Mom and Dad raised me, and I cannot bear to leave them. Please, won't you let me stay? If you do not kick me out, I will literally be your maid." Everyone knew Lu Zhiwu was the actual missing heiress, yet this highly anticipated first meeting felt so incredibly awkward. Honestly, causing this massive scene at a crowded school gate was completely inappropriate, and letting that fake daughter weaponize her tears in public, like some victim? Did they not care about Lu Zhiwu's feelings at all? The system sensed my boiling rage and warned me, "Don't step in. Let her go home with them. You will get paid." I clenched my fists tight, forcing down my anger. Just then, an arrogant boy's voice cut through the tension. "What a touching display, Mingxia. You do not need to humiliate yourself like this." The posh boy looked heartbroken as he wrapped an arm around the fake daughter, Mingxia. Then, he aggressively blocked my real daughter's path, glaring at her. "Is this how you treat your own family?" He clearly tried to intimidate Lu Zhiwu by glaring down at her. But thanks to all the good food I had fed her, she was already exactly the same height as this arrogant kid. The punk could only try using his fake authority to bully her. "Our parents searched for you for a decade. Have you zero conscience or basic manners? Mingxia is crying, literally begging for your forgiveness, and you are just standing there. Are you completely heartless?" Lu Zhiwu finally hit her absolute limit. She took one deep breath, spun toward the school's security booth, and screamed, "Uncle Guard, these weirdos are harassing me." Now Lu Zhiwu was a local favorite. She was the ultimate perfect student. Teachers, classmates, the cafeteria ladies, and especially the security guards absolutely adored her. The second those words left her mouth, the burly guard who watched the drama unfold grabbed his heavy iron baton and charged. "Back off! Get away from her!" The pampered Hua family, completely used to polite luxury, had never faced anything like this. Panicking, they stammered pathetic excuses and scrambled backward. Using the chaos, Lu Zhiwu slipped right through their defensive line. She frantically scanned the crowd, finally spotting me. Like a happy little bird, she sprinted straight into my arms. But seeing the greasy bag, she frowned. "Hey, I cooked these myself," I quickly lied. Lu Zhiwu narrowed her eyes, inspecting the sausages like a tiny detective. "Lar, you bought these from a street stall. Your sausages always burn on one side. Keep your voice down. There's nothing to be proud of here. Wait, did you save any of that junk food for me? Thanks, Dad." I grabbed her hand and marched straight toward our house, not even daring to look back as we left. I didn't dare turn around, terrified that the wealthy Hua family would be right on our heels. Walking home, I casually asked her how school went. She smiled brightly and said, "I was really happy today. Since it's parent-teacher meeting day, I have a special surprise for you." She paused, suddenly looking anxious. But when I was leaving school, these crazy people ambushed me at the gate, stubbornly insisting that my real name is Hua An. I know about the billionaire Hua Group, but how could I possibly be their daughter? My heart sank heavily in my chest. Hesitantly, I asked her, What if you really are their missing daughter? Lu Qiwu stopped dead in her tracks. As my anxiety spiked, she looked at me with total seriousness and replied, if those people actually turn out to be my biological family, I'll definitely lock them up in a really good psychiatric hospital. I burst out laughing, the tension breaking. A moment later I couldn't help but add, but they're ridiculously rich. Lu Qiwu just nodded seriously. Exactly, that's why I'll admit them for treatment and donate their entire fortune to people who actually need it. If their mental state is that unstable, how could they possibly know how to manage their wealth? It's much safer if someone else spends it for them. I nodded in complete agreement, smiling proudly. Good girl. You are so smart and sensible, Qiwu. That's all thanks to your great parenting, Dad. We walked home together, laughing and chatting happily. But dinner was barely cooking when a loud, aggressive knock echoed from our door. Instantly, I knew the wealthy Hua family had tracked us down. I always knew this dreaded day would finally arrive. I started to get up, but Qiwu jumped to her feet first. Dad, let me get the door. All 4 members of the elite Hua family stood lined up outside on our porch, terrified she might slam it shut. Mr. Hua frantically yanked out her original birth certificate, and crying streaming down, Mrs. Hua grabbed her hand. And Anne, earlier was just a misunderstanding. I really am your biological mother. Qiwu turned back to look at me, but I guiltily looked away. All right, let's talk inside. Qiwu lowered her gaze and stepped aside to let them in. After that dramatic entrance, their intense behavior finally cooled down into something a bit more normal. This is your older brother, Hua Lintian. He's 3 years senior to you, Mrs. Hua began the introductions. And this is Hua Minzhao. Years ago, a terrible nurse secretly swapped you two at the hospital. She cruelly kidnapped our real baby and threw you away. We only recently discovered Minzhao isn't our biological daughter, so we launched an immediate private investigation. We finally located you yesterday. Mom still can't believe that you were forced to survive in such horrible poverty. Mrs. Hua scanned our cheap home decor, her voice dripping with absolute disgust. How could anyone possibly live in a dump like this? Qiwu's face instantly hardened. Why couldn't we? In Qiwu's eyes, this little apartment was a palace we had decorated inch by inch together. During brutal summers, we'd eat cold watermelon in front of our rusty air conditioner. In winters, we huddled on that worn-out sofa with hot water bottles, just watching TV. And then why on earth are you speaking to us like this? Mr. Hua's patience snapped, especially since Qiwu had disrespected him as her father twice now. So incredibly rude and uncultured. You act nothing like the prestigious Hua family. He violently slammed his hand on the wooden table, angrily glaring at her.
Enough of this nonsense!
You are coming home with us right now. The adopted daughter Minzhao quickly rubbed his back to soothe him. Dad, please calm down. Just give her time to pack. What is even worth packing in this filthy junkyard? Minzhao then turned to look at Qiwu, speaking in a sickeningly sweet tone. Sister, just apologize to Dad. His heart is very weak, so don't make him angry. Mom and Dad just want to bring you home. We've prepared so many luxury gifts for you. Clothes, expensive jewelry, all handpicked by me. Her brother Lintian quickly chimed in too. Mom, Dad, and Minzhao put so much effort into your sweet 16 and now you're ruining it. Qiwu just pursed her lips and let out a mocking laugh. Honestly, I think you wealthy folks are deeply mistaken. I have everything I need right here, Mr. Hua scoffed. That's not your decision to make. You have our blood, you belong with us. If the Huaba family can comfortably raise Minzhao, we can certainly raise you too. As for your adoptive father, they finally bothered to look in my direction. Mr. Hua glared at me with a thinly veiled threat. We won't mistreat you. Mrs. Hua then reached into her designer bag. She pulled out a platinum bank card and slid it across the table toward me. Here is the reward for your hard work. 10 million yuan. Thanks for raising her. Her eyes held absolutely zero gratitude. She just wanted to finish this annoying transaction, masking her disgust. I could tell she clearly disliked Qiwu. She was angry that I hadn't raised a perfectly submissive, bootlicking society girl like her precious Minzhao. But in my eyes, my little Qiwu was the most incredible kid in the entire world. I clenched my fists tightly under the table. I was just about to explode in anger when the system's cold voice echoed. Host, do not act foolishly. Those are her biological parents. You raised this girl for 16 years? Isn't this exactly the payout you've been waiting for? Once she goes home with them, I will reward you with even more money. Isn't this what you desired from the very beginning? I bit my lip hard. The system was right. This was my original plan. But over these long years, Qiwu had become my entire life. I couldn't just abandon her now, any more than I could abandon my own soul. Looking up, my eyes locked with Qiwu's. She was staring at me in tolerance, just waiting for my final answer. Her dark eyes looked like polished obsidian, hiding a fierce, quiet strength beneath that calm surface. This was the precious child I had poured 16 years of pure love and hard work into. I absolutely refused to let her go. Under their judgmental glares, I opened my mouth to speak. But the system chimed in again. Host, have you ever considered the child's perspective? The elite Hua family is incredibly powerful. She can have anything she desires. With you, she's trapped in a cramped rented apartment, wearing cheap hand-me-downs. She has to cook and scrub floors every day. Pushing such a heavy burden onto a young teenager is cruel. If she returns to her wealthy family, she will never worry about tuition or money again. Dozens of servants will wait on her hand and foot. Are you really going to let your own selfishness trap her in this poverty forever? I sat there, completely stunned. The system was painfully right, but every time I glanced at Chiwoo, 16 beautiful years of memories flooded my mind. Deep down, I furiously argued back. But they're treating her horribly. The system replied coldly. They just met her. Once they actually live together, they'll inevitably understand her true worth, and just like you, they'll see her as the most wonderful girl in the world. Trembling under Chiwoo's unblinking gaze, I slowly reached out and quietly pocketed the bank card. Mrs. Hua looked incredibly smug about my surrender, then smugly turned toward Chiwoo, her smirk practically screaming, "He just sold you out. You have nowhere else to go." I honestly had no idea what to say to my daughter anymore, so I just kept my head buried in shame. But like I said, Chiwoo is a brilliantly sensible kid. She understood my heartbreaking choice without asking a single question. She stood up and silently walked into her tiny bedroom to pack. 5 minutes later, she stepped out, carrying only her new school backpack. She was leaving almost everything behind. Seeing her act so remarkably decisive and obedient, the snobby Hua family's expressions finally softened a bit. Mr. Hua gently grabbed her arm. "Let's go." The fake daughter Minjiao clearly couldn't believe Chiwoo had caved so easily. "Sister, it's so great that you can just forget your old poverty-stricken life this fast. That's a really good thing." Minzhao shot me a sideways glance and added mockingly, "But this uncle did raise you for 16 long years. Aren't you even going to say goodbye?" Chiwoo stayed completely silent, but an intense wave of regret washed over me. The old memories flooded my mind again, and I physically stepped forward to stop her. The system immediately screamed in my head, "Do not move. Let the girl go to her wealthy home. Even if you desperately wanted to keep her, do you honestly have the power? The billionaire Hua family could crush you by lifting a single finger. But this feels so wrong," I screamed back at it in my mind. Even though logic told me returning to her biological family was the right move, I couldn't make this decision for her. I hadn't even asked what she actually wanted. Gripping Lu Chi-woo's wrist firmly, I picked up the bank card. Looking into her eyes, looking deeply, I asked, "Chi-woo, I still haven't asked if you truly want to leave. If you don't want to go, I don't need a single thing. Even if the Hua family drags me to court, I honestly do not care." I knew Chi-woo didn't want to leave at all. Her eyes were filled with pure attachment. But under everyone's anxious stares, Chi-woo gently placed the card right back into my hand. She shook her head. "Uncle Lu, is it not enough money?" I was completely stunned. Lu Chi-woo looked down at me, never letting go of my hand. She just repeated the question, "Is the money not enough?" She looked at Mrs. Hua. "Mom, Uncle Lu has treated me incredibly well for the last 16 years. Mrs. Hua caught on immediately. Smiling, she pulled out another card. "I apologize, that was thoughtless of me. Here's 5 million more. Please, take it." I stayed completely silent, but my heart slowly turned to ice. Honestly, I had just accepted their money to let her go, and now I was making a massive scene. What else could it look like besides me just wanting more cash? Seeing no reaction from me, Chi-woo pressed that second card into my hand too. I slowly let go of her fingers, forcing a fake smile. "All right, Chi-woo, have a wonderful future." But before I could even finish, Lu Chi-woo turned and walked away. I bolted straight to the balcony, watching her climb into the car. Then I collapsed in my room, sobbing uncontrollably. I cried my eyes out for a solid hour. Finally, the system gathered the courage. "Host, please stop crying. Your mission is complete. I will transfer you another 10 million. You are now officially a wealthy man." Through my tears, I started screaming at it. "Do you have zero feelings? Didn't you watch her grow up right beside us?" The system stayed quiet for a moment, as if it were making a tough choice. "If you miss Chi-woo that much, I can trade your cash reward for a remote camera feed. Whenever you miss her, turn it on, and you can watch over her." My tears stopped instantly. I leaped up like a fish of water. "Show it to me right now!" The screen revealed a quiet family car ride. "Did Uncle Lu always call you Chi-woo?" "Mom thinks Anan sounds much better, but if you aren't used to it yet, we can stick with Chi-woo for a while. There is absolutely no need. I actually prefer that name." Mrs. Hua nodded, looking completely satisfied. Meng Chao, the fake daughter they had raised, sat right next to them. She pursed her lips, suddenly letting out a sharp laugh. It just crossed my mind. "Sister, you must have finally seen Uncle Lu's true colors. That is why you agreed to leave so easily. But, wow, you are genuinely stone cold. You just packed up and walked away. I really admire how ruthless you are." Lu Qiu just stared at her, dead calm. Meng Chao actually shivered under that icy gaze, but desperately tried keeping her sweet smile for the family. Then Lu Chi-woo spoke with absolute zero emotion. Yes, I saw exactly who Uncle Lu truly is, and I saw my biological parents genuinely wanted me back. You are in the exact same boat, aren't you?" Meng Chao flinched. "What do you mean?" Lu Chi-woo explained it slowly. "You are the daughter of that corrupt nurse. Yet you are still sitting here in our house. Clearly, you also saw your birth mother's toxic nature. That is why my generous parents still raised you. The only difference between us is that you chose to abandon your real mother, while I chose to return home to mine. Lu Chi-woo rested her head gently on Mrs. Hua's shoulder. She flashed Meng Chao the sweetest, most innocent smile. So when it comes to being ruthless, you easily beat me by a mile, sister. Watching this play out on the screen, tears kept rolling down my face, but I couldn't stop smiling. She just insulted you, and you are actually grinning? The system asked in total confusion. It doesn't matter. I quickly wiped my eyes, my voice thick with pride. As long as my Chi-woo refuses to be bullied by anyone, I don't care if she calls me a villain. From that day forward, any free second I had, I switched on the feed. Initially, I was terrified my girl would get bullied out there all alone. But, as the days passed, my fears completely vanished. During her very first week home, Meng Chao started crying, whining to Mrs. Hua that Chi-woo stole her jewelry. Chi-woo didn't utter a single word in defense. She simply pulled up footage from a hidden camera she had secretly installed in her own bedroom. It clearly caught Meng Chao planting the fake evidence. A month later, her brother Lin Tian angrily complained that Chi-woo had messed with his confidential documents. Chi-woo calmly brought out her work logs, proving she had spent the entire month exclusively assisting their father instead. Hua Ji-ming scolded Lin Tian mercilessly. Within weeks, the wealthy couple was absolutely thrilled with Lu Chi-woo's competence. Mr. Hua held her hands proudly, saying, "Those two other kids are completely spoiled. You are by far the smartest. You've had to put up with so much lately." Lu Chi-woo shook her head gently. "It's okay, we are family. I just hope they stop making baseless claims that destroy our family bond." One early morning at breakfast, Lin Tian and Meng Chao tried starting drama yet again. Meng Chao deliberately dragged out Chi-woo's worn-out, badly torn old school bag. She loudly claimed the dirty bag proved Chi-woo didn't truly want to be part of their family. The parents looked doubtful, but Lu Chi-woo calmly responded, "I firmly believe a person's real loyalty is proven by their actions, not empty words." They all just stared in awe. Hua Jiming finally asked, "Did that man named Lu teach you this wisdom?" Chi-woo, without missing a beat, nodded. "Yes, Uncle Lu might have loved money, but he taught me incredible life lessons. He is the reason I can be a proper daughter to you today. I've left the past behind me completely. I hope siblings can manage to do the same." The wealthy parents exchanged a look, their eyes shining with absolute pride. Sitting alone in my room, I quietly started crying again. "Are you crying just because she praised you?" the system asked. I just nodded. I didn't owe this robot an explanation. Over the next few weeks, Lu Chi-woo learned business strategies incredibly fast. She flawlessly executed massive corporate projects that her brother Lin Tian had completely fumbled. Her powerful status within the Hua family empire started rising rapidly, like an unstoppable tidal wave. A month later, Mrs. Hua fell seriously ill and desperately needed a blood transfusion. Lu Chi-woo donated her blood without any hesitation. Watching the feed, I was agonizing. I bought dozens of healthy supplements for her, but had no excuse to actually send them. Suddenly, a massive argument broke out at the hospital. Lin Tian had ruined a massive business deal. Mr. Hua screamed directly at his face, yelling, What have I been teaching you all these years? You are utterly useless compared to Anan." Lu Chi-woo stepped in smoothly. "Dad, please calm down. If my brother can't handle it, let me try." Those words were like throwing gasoline on a fire. Lin Tian exploded. "Don't act like some genius. You are literally just a walking blood bank. If Mom wasn't sick, we never would have brought you back to this house." Dead silence filled the hospital room. Both parents looked completely horrified. Lu Chi-woo dropped her head and began crying. Mr. Hua grabbed her hand tightly. "Ignore him. We would never treat you as a mere blood bank." Mrs. Hua frantically tried explaining too, but seeing the utter heartbreak in Chi-woo's eyes, she froze. Nobody was prepared for what my girl did next. Lu Chi-woo gently took Mrs. Hua's hand and opened her palm. She placed a small, woven peace amulet inside. "I knelt before the Buddha statue yesterday, praying for a full day and night just to make this for you." Her soft voice pierced straight through everyone's heart. "Mom, you really don't need to lie. Even if you strictly see me as your backup blood supply, I am still willing to do it for you. Simply because you are my biological mother." Mrs. Hua broke down completely, hugging Chi-woo and sobbing loudly. Mr. Hua wiped his own tears. Watching from my dark room, I was utterly speechless. "Everyone is so emotional. Why aren't you crying?" I rubbed my eyes. I couldn't shed a tear because I instantly recognized that amulet. Chi-woo and I had ordered those exact charms in bulk online 2 years ago. 10 for 9 yuan. After that incident, Lu Chi-woo's position within the wealthy Hua family grew much stronger. Mr. Hua handed over the entire business empire to her. Seeing her happy brought me peace, but my home felt incredibly empty. The high school year finally ended. When I received the parent-teacher meeting notification, I suddenly remembered what Chi-woo told me the day the Hua family arrived. She said, "On the meeting day, I have a surprise for you." I rushed to the school with nervous excitement. The teacher handed me a time capsule the students buried earlier that year. Inside, I found a handwritten letter from Lu Chi-woo. It read, "Papa, I have a secret. For years, I could hear you talking to some strange voice system. I never said anything because you were always secretly praising me in your head. I loved hearing that. I really don't care who my real biological family is. I know you would never abandon me, but lately, I've felt someone following me. I probably won't be able to stay with you much longer. But please trust me, I will find my own way. Just like you found me by that dumpster. I froze completely. She knew everything. Just then, breaking news flashed on TV. The wealthy Hua family was facing a massive financial crisis, and their 16-year-old adopted daughter had suddenly turned the tables completely. It finally made sense. She only left to pave her own path, and now she was free. Suddenly, my phone rang. Papa, I want to come home. Can you pick me up? I grabbed my electric bike. I sped toward their luxury villa, crying and laughing the entire ride. Even the system seemed to give me green lights at every single intersection. From a distance, I spotted Lu Chi-woo standing there with her suitcase. Her biological relatives were desperately trying to stop her. If you leave, what happens to us? Mr. Hua's eyes were swollen red. He knew Chi-woo controlled the entire company now. He was begging her on his knees. Mrs. Hua grabbed her arm. Child, I don't need your blood transplants anymore. Just stay with me. Lu Chi-woo spotted me, and her eyes instantly lit up. I shoved through the crowded driveway and tightly held her hand. She's my daughter. You cannot take her away, Mr. Hua yelled. I stopped, turned around, and glared at them. Your daughter? Then tell me exactly where you lost her. Was it the dumpster in that alley behind the hospital? Mr. Hua gasped in absolute shock. I gripped Chi-woo's hand even tighter. Then she isn't yours. Because 16 years ago I found this child thrown away by a dumpster, like a piece of trash. She was freezing, dying. I saved her and rushed her to the hospital. The doctor said she had a rare disease with 0 chance of survival, but I raised this beautiful little girl, and she miraculously survived. Now this precious diamond has finally been wiped clean of all that dirt. Now the whole world can see her brilliant shine. Even the heartless people who threw her away came crawling back. But I always knew her true worth from the very beginning. She doesn't belong in a cage. I might have saved her, but I won't lock her up like a trophy. She deserves to shine freely on her own terms. Chi-woo and I finally headed back to our home. I had managed to buy our old house back. I fixed those squeaky floorboards in the living room and repainted the walls. But I didn't touch Chi-woo's bedroom at all. Everything stayed exactly the way she left it, before the Hua family came. Could you really hear the conversations between me and the system? Lu Chi-woo smiled and nodded. My face flushed bright red. So, does that mean for the past 16 years you heard every single thought in my head? Lu Chi-woo started laughing. I only started hearing those voices a few years ago. Whenever you got super emotional, I heard everything perfectly. Especially on that terrible day the Hua family came to take me. I heard all of your struggle and deep pain. That day, the system almost convinced you to let me go. The system's logic made sense, but it was dead wrong about one crucial thing. Even though I'm just 16 years old, I understand how money and power work in this world. Because I know that, I'd never let wealth create a barrier between me and my real dad. I pulled Lu Chi-woo into a tight hug. My daughter turned out far wiser than I ever imagined. She truly is the greatest person alive. Later on, Lu Chi-woo enrolled in the country's most prestigious college finance program. Meanwhile, she studied hard during the day and aggressively managed the corporate empire at night. The Hua family stayed completely silent. Eventually, Mrs. Hua fell terminally ill. But this time, she didn't demand any blood transfusions from Lu Chi-woo. She just wanted to see her one last time. A dying person's words are usually gentle. She just stared blankly at Lu Chi-woo. If I knew you'd become this successful, I never would have abandoned you. I honestly thought that you wouldn't even survive the night. Do you hate me now? Lu Chi-woo just shook her head. My dad gave me life and brought me here. The frail woman breathed a sigh of absolute relief. Chi-woo, that beautiful name suits you perfectly. After graduation, Chi-woo scaled the Hua family's corporate business to unbelievable heights. But right when the massive company hit its absolute peak, she donated half their wealth to charity. She smiled and told me, we could never spend all this money in one lifetime anyway, so why not help other people? During our free time, we traveled the entire globe. When she was busy running the corporate empire, I simply hung around outside her office. I sold street sausages downstairs, $2 each, never scamming the kids. I always saved a hot sausage just for her. We'd eat and chat on our walk home. Sometimes I still thought about that strange AI system. After all, for 16 years, it watched me raise my incredible daughter. But ever since Chi-woo finally moved back home, the system vanished completely. Then, years later, it suddenly hijacked my dream. Transfer some money to this specific bank account. Are you running a scam now? I asked. It yelled back, this is your fault. You and Chi-woo completely rewrote my source code. I couldn't stop myself. I got permanently paired with a struggling orphanage director who completely ran out of cash, and the kids are literally starving. I asked in total shock. Wait, how did Chi-woo and I rewrite your core code? The system stammered. After I relentlessly pushed, it finally revealed its prime directive. It explained that a hidden ultimate rule had suddenly activated. Rule 1. The protagonist must evolve strictly according to the storyline. Rule 2. Never interfere with events outside the main plot. Rule 3. The moment true, unconditional love is truly felt, the previous rules completely shatter. Love overrides the entire system's code, because in the end, absolute love conquers everything else.